Let's talk in this video a little bit about the approach to shallow water tarpon fishing, how you position your boat. There's really three means of doing this in most cases. One is if you have a vessel that has a trolling motor, especially one that has an anchor mode. That's a GPS controlled trolling motor that once you fix the spot, the boat will remain in that position. It will try to do its best to hold you there. The only shortcoming to that is if you get some rough water or some really fast moving water with some wind, is it's constantly struggling and fighting to put you in that position. So if you're in 12 feet of water, the fish may not like that and they may come into you and then they may veer off because of that. You don't use your trolling motor to cut schools off or to chase schools from behind and throw over the top of them. I can tell you right now, that does not work and it will not be popular with everybody else on the beach. Don't do that at all costs. Only fish the fish that are coming to you. Once they're past you by more than 90 degrees, let them go. You'll get another group. Trust me, it's the migration. It happens. Number two, best way is to have either dual power poles, or if you're in a skiff, one single power pole, especially if you got an 8-foot blade, something that has some rigidity. The power pole will anchor you fast and tight to the sandbars, especially if you're fishing slots or tips or shoals. It's easy to stay buttoned up with a power pole. Power pole does a good job in most sea conditions unless it's extremely rough. So let's just say you've got one power pole and you've got a 22-foot bay boat. Well, let's just say you got a 10-foot power pole. You could put your power pole down and you could give yourself just enough steerage with your trolling motor, if you have both, which you typically do with a bay boat, so that you're in position. When the fish come, if you see them far enough away, you can raise your power pole a foot off the bottom and just make a slight adjustment and be able to move 2 or 3 boat lengths right or left and still make a presentation to those fish. And then if they get it, they get it. If they move past you, let them go. Don't chase them down. Double back, pin your power pole right back where it belongs. Third way. And this way works a lot with the evening sea breeze, or when we get west winds on the west coast of Florida, or you'd have east winds on the east coast. That's where you have an onshore wind blowing in. Then it gets difficult to position your boat with a trolling motor because you're always fighting it. And it can be difficult, especially if it's deeper water, where your power pole will not be the right tool. In that case, you're going to want to use old school anchor. The anchor that I prefer is an old Sea Claw. This is a 12-pound Sea Claw anchor made out of brass and steel. It is heavy enough for my 18-foot Hells Bay Marquesa that I do not need any chain rode. I don't need chain. All I need is a shackle. Then I've got, in this particular case, this is either 3/8 or 1/2 inch anchor line. I have about 30 feet of it. 25 is probably enough, but I think I have about close to 30 here. Attached to it at the very end, I've got 6 or 7 feet of shock cord, bungee cord. Now this is pre-made up by a company called anchorshock.com. It gives you that dampening effect in seas. So when you have rollers or you have sharp sea breeze, what it does is it allows you to ride over that wave and it gently pulls you down. It doesn't yank you down. If you get yanked down with no stretch like you do with an anchor line, oftentimes the bow will dip and you'll take water into the cockpit of your boat. That doesn't happen with the Anchor Shock. So get you a piece of Anchor Shock. At one of my Anchor Shock, I got a big carabiner. This is a stainless carabiner. They're not cheap. But I use that to clip onto the cleat right here in the front of my casting stand. At the other end, I have tied on, you'll notice that I've got this little float ball. The idea behind the float ball is when the angler up here is hooked up, buttoned up to a tarpon, and it starts to jump and starts to go behind the boat, the second angler, or me in many cases, runs up here, unhooks it, and throws the anchor ball over with the line. This is going to mark my anchor on the beach now. It's just going to sit there and suspend my anchor line. And then we're going to pursue the tarpon. We could be gone 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or if it's a big enough fish, we might be gone an hour. But when we return, our anchor will be marked with this ball. All we have to do is run alongside of it, pick it back up, grab the end of the line, hook back up, and we're right back where we started, fishing that same line that was productive before. Really, those three methods for shallow water tarpon fishing pretty much handles everything.